I'm excited. I have a Crude Truth exclusive coming to you live from Dubai with Miss America 2023. This episode coming up next on The Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs, and if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
NAPE is a proud sponsor of the Crude Truth. Be sure to register for the NAPE Expo 2024, February 7th through the 9th at the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas. Hurry and register today. NAPE, where deals happen.
This episode is brought to you by LFS Chemistry, committed to being good stewards of the environment and providing the tools so you can be too. NAPE Expo, where deals happen. Air Compressor Solutions. When everything is on the line, Air Compressor Solutions is the dependable choice to keep commercial business powered up. Sandstone Group. Exec Crew. Elevate your network, elevate your knowledge. Oil and Gas Workers Association. Pecos Country Operating. Fueling our future.
Yay!
Yay! Oh my gosh!
Yay!
Good
Okay,
morning.
perfect.
How are you? What is going on?
I am doing so good. You know, it's so crazy because I know we're in two totally different parts of the world right now. So the time zones, bless it. Thank you so much for doing this at a crazy US time. But I'm so excited. I loved my time on the Crude Truth, so I'm excited to be back.
Oh, graceful. Thank you. We love it. Our listeners love it. Our viewers love it, especially. Oh my gosh. How are you? How is Dubai going right now before we dive into it? How's everything going out there so far?
It's been really exciting. So here in Dubai, the reason I'm here is for COP28, which basically this is like the biggest international climate change conference to exist at this point in time. There are so many different countries here, and a lot of what has been a big part of the nuclear fight within COP, and it's year after year after year progression. Nuclear hasn't always been considered part of the climate change solution, yet it is, you know, and we talked about that before. Well, I don't need to get into that. So, but this year it has been such an exciting COP. So much has happened. Nuclear's on the table. People are talking about nuclear loud and proud, and I can't wait to see that continue.
You talk about it. It is literally the headliner at COP28 this year. It is on almost every other word is all about nuclear power, nuclear energy. How can that help this climate change, climate transition, as I like to call it, that we have going on? And one of the things that was announced, Grace, and I'm sure you were aware, was how several of the countries, and I say several, over 20 countries, signed a declaration to triple nuclear energy capacity just by 2050. And that what's exciting about that to me is that's actually something that can be reality. What do you think?
Yeah, so talking a little bit more about that. So currently, as of 2023, about 10% of the world's electricity comes from nuclear power, which is a big statement then saying that by 2050, we want 30% of the world's power to come from nuclear energy. Like, how crazy is that to think about? But it is so exciting because the countries involved, there's 22 different countries. It's countries like the United States, countries like France, countries, you know, that are all over the world that are excited to be a part of this. It is feasible. It is possible. We have seen plants. A lot of people here in Dubai have been going to the Baraka nuclear power plant about 5 hours away from Dubai, you know, kind of close, but kind of not. And it's a perfect example of a plant being built on budget, on time. And what we need to be doing is starting to build these plants within the next 5 years, really, to be able to achieve this goal by 2050.
Holy cow! So they're building one right now on time and on budget. Don't tell the general contractor here in America that it's possible. Holy cow!
I know. Well, it's already been done, and honestly, 25% of UAE's energy comes from this one plant, this one nuclear power plant here, which is really incredible.
That's a large amount of energy coming from one source. Holy
Yeah, and I'm gonna
cow.
make sure it is the 25% of overall energy here.
I
I
promise
should
I'm
I
not going to
shouldn't
fact check you, Grace. I
well,
promise. You know.
I want to
All
fact
right,
check
double check.
myself
Okay,
here. Like
okay.
I want to fact check myself here. Just because like I know that some people when they talk about energy, they're like, oh, just like clean energy. But I'm 90% positive that this is like UA's overall energy mix. Nuclear 44%. Yeah, okay. How much of UAE? Yeah, so 25%. Okay, we're good. We're good. I was right. I just wanted to double check myself there.
Well, look,
Always make sure.
you're not a
Oh
nuclear
man.
engineer for nothing. Okay, I'm just saying. So you're
Well,
probably right. I'm just saying. You know, I think you know you and the space engineers. I think are basically the top of the line of when it comes to that. You know, you are basically a rocket scientist in some form or fashion. For goodness
oh
sake.
gosh. Okay, funny story about that
Yeah.
because I feel like we can't have all serious talk. So funny story about that. I used to say when I was like 15 years old, before I really knew nuclear engineering was a thing, I always said I wanted to be a rocket scientist, and then I found nuclear engineering. So now here I am. You know, it's the only thing that beat out being a rocket scientist.
Oh my gosh, no way. Can you imagine? I tell you what,
Yeah.
you have just again, and I said this before, and I've said it on and off our recordings. You are blazing a trail and changing the game and changing the landscape for nuclear. And I'm just so excited to continue to watch and see what it is that you do. You know, last time you and I talked, you know, to kind of just go back, you know, you had mentioned that Georgia Tech had already increased their nuclear uh, students that were in their programs. And I think this is just going to be another way for these kind of things to happen. And you look at places like Dubai, and of course, I'm in the oil and gas industry, but you look at places like Dubai that are obviously, I mean, in the oil and gas industry as well. And they're also looking at nuclear as a way to power their cities and their towns. And that one plant that's 5 hours away. And now I guess it's in the middle of nowhere, or is it like in a town, or where's that one at?
Ooh, it's I think well, I mean every power plant is kind of in the middle of nowhere, right?
Okay,
But
right.
it
Yeah.
is close by to some civilizations. So here looking at it on the map, it is somewhat close by within the UAE. It's on the shoreline.
Okay.
It's safely I'd say close to the middle of nowhere.
Okay. But look,
I'd say close to the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna be honest. So I'm looking at the map right now and like there isn't a, you know, it's a ways from Abu Dhabi even.
Okay.
But there's a lot of small towns nearby. It's looking like Abu Dhabi Water and Electricity Authority, Al Dana City, a couple of industrial cities nearby. So there is different things, but the geography here and the way that they categorize their locations is slightly different from the United States. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, one thing that's really, I think, that needs to be said and is so important about COP28 is, first of all, Miss America is there for goodness sake. So, I mean, that is freaking awesome. And you're there with a purpose. And, you know, that's really that with this new declaration, it truly shows and recognizes that key role that nuclear energy has in reaching net zero. And what a better person to help represent this and make a point than you, Grace, who not only is Miss America, but you are somebody that is in the nuclear industry, for goodness sakes. I mean, that is what you're going to be doing, and that is your career. And of course, as we all know, when you actually love your job, it's really it's not a job. You know, it's just something you enjoy to do.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. Well, and it's so incredible too, because like I am definitely not the only nuclear advocate here. With net zero nuclear, with nuclear for climate, we have a ton of different groups and a ton of different youth advocates here. Isabella Bemke came with the International Atomic Energy Agency. She is isotope, so she's also a popular like advocate and an incredible, incredible human being. We have so many just awesome people here. Kristen from Mothers for Nuclear out of California. It's just like such an awesome group of people where it's these international groups working together to help advocate for nuclear.
and do you get the sense, you know, that people are there not just, lack of better words, flapping their jaws or something about nuclear, that there's actually a real positive push to make this happen across the world, to
Yes.
transfer power over to nuclear? Yeah.
Yes, I would say almost like with complete certainty, yes. Every person here on behalf of nuclear is serious. And honestly, it was interesting. So I there's a Danish advocate here named Johan, and he did get to go to Baraka nuclear power plant on Monday, I think it was. So I wasn't here yet, but on Monday, he brought with a Danish journalist, right? This national journalist, and they ended up filming a 7-minute segment all about nuclear. And it's really exciting because the journalist said, he's like, it's really great talking with nuclear folks specifically, because there's, I don't want to say this in a negative manner on environmentalists and climate change people. And sometimes with environmentalists and climate change people, according to this journalist, it's a very depressing conversation. It's a very doom and gloom type of thing. And he says that when he talks with nuclear people, he feels that there's hope. He feels that there's excitement. He feels that there is a future, there is a solution, there is action we can take. And that's what's really exciting, because that's coming from somebody outside of nuclear. And I think it really does represent nuclear very well, where we're a very hopeful group of people. We're very optimistic, and we are beyond thrilled to be representing nuclear here at COP28.
I think part of the reason why y'all are so very optimistic is because y'all see the science, and more importantly, y'all understand the science and see where it can go, and that y'all are also watching it come to fruition. And that's at least when I think about you and all the other nuclear advocates. It's like y'all understand the true science because whenever, no different than when we talk about oil and gas and the negativities, it just seems that you just think about the negatives when you hear the word nuclear, but the positives outweigh the negatives on nuclear any day of the week. I mean, they create life, for goodness sakes, in my opinion. Nuclear does. It creates and saves lives every day. That's what I think.
Hands down. I completely agree. You're preaching to the choir. And it's thrilling because COP28 here, we're seeing that the rest of the world is recognizing that, that 22 country agreement to triple that nuclear capacity. We're seeing Bill Gates getting more involved in nuclear. He does run a startup company for nuclear, but he's becoming more and more involved. We're seeing so many people seeing that this is the path forward, that to build a reliable and sustainable energy grid, we have to have nuclear be a part of that. It can't just be renewables. It can't just be carbon capture, fossil fuels. We've got to have a little bit of everything to build a healthy, diverse energy portfolio overall. And because of that, we've got to start building more nuclear. It's reliable, it's an emissions-free source of energy, and it's something that will last for 80 to 100 years. Right now within the States, we've got plants going through 80-year license applications, extensions. We've got plants that have stated that they're planning on applying for a 100-year license extension to be operating for a 100-year lifetime.
Let me ask you about. I want to come back to Bill Gates in a second. Let me just ask you: Have you had a chance to meet him since you've been Miss America?
I have not. No, unfortunately, I'll be in the blue zone tomorrow here at COP, and that's like the fancy zone. That's where all the big government people are and all of that stuff. So. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
Well, because I know that he just signed a deal, and it's crazy to hear Bill Gates and startup in the same sentence. First of all, that he has that startup, but he just signed a deal, I know, with the UAE to explore building another reactor somewhere there in the Gulf country. So obviously,
Correct.
The one that's doing 25%, they're ready to do another one. It sounds like they're in the UAE. But I know you're there in Dubai, but coming back home to America, you mentioned here a little while ago that's like, hey, they want to do more in just the next 5 years. Do you think we have the capacity to, I know we got the one in Georgia, but is there on works to build some more here in America right now, Grace?
Right now, I think we will see ground being broken within SMRs, so small modular reactors. So companies like NuScale, companies like Bill Gates, TerraPower. So those are the companies that are going to be breaking ground here within the United States. And I firmly believe that they will be breaking ground within the next 5 years. Many of them have gone through license approval processes. Many of them are going through building permit processes and everything. Unfortunately, NuScale did have one project get canceled, but they have so many more in the works. They have so many more going on. And I'm very confident that within the next 5 years, we will have more SMRs being built within the United States.
I tell you what, after our last interview, and I recommend people to go watch and watch that one because we went into detail on the small modular reactors. I did a little bit more due diligence on those myself. And wow, I said it then, and they're just such a game changer. I mean, if we can truly do something like that, and I think John Kerry was talking, the government envoy, and I'll be polite and all that right now. I think he's considered the climate envoy or something like that. He was talking about nuclear fusion strategies and things like that. And I just think, there's just so many great things that we can do with nuclear, kind of like you're talking about. There in Dubai, what's one of the were there any surprises that kind of like, oh wow, you didn't know that about that nuclear power plant in Dubai and how it's running on given the 25% power?
I mean, I personally, I didn't get the opportunity to go and see the plant, unfortunately. But what I have been hearing from a lot of people is it's just the most impressive thing is we have this universal structure within nuclear that it transcends borders, right? And that's that priority for safety and the priority to always be on time and stick to schedule, which is just so incredible that, people are seeing that, people are getting exposed to that in different countries. It doesn't matter what government entity runs it. Right. Nuclear holds ourselves to the highest standard, but that's why we have a standard of excellence. That's why, we achieve perfection on almost a daily basis within these power plants.
Yes. And, I just love how they were able to stay on time and stay on budget. I mean, whoever did that one, they need to come over here to America and do one and show how it's done that way.
Well, I have a feeling Bill Gates is giving him a call. So.
Probably. Grace, look, I know you are super busy, and I just want to tell all our viewers that are watching this episode that is not a screen background. That is actually the lobby of a hotel in Dubai, because it did not look like one at all. I mean, have you had any shocking, awesome moments in Dubai since you've been there, or something like, oh wow, that's really cool?
Well, I've only been here for about 29 hours now, so it still is very, very new, but it's been really incredible. Dubai isn't necessarily what I thought it would be. It's a beautiful, beautiful city, though. Tons of modern buildings and innovation. America's a very young country overall, right? But I have a feeling I'm going to go back to America, to cities there. I'm flying in through Dallas and Minneapolis, and they're going to feel old in comparison to Dubai, I feel like. So it's going to be interesting to see that experience. But it's been incredible here. And it's 70s. I left Wisconsin and it was snowing last week Sunday, and it's beautiful here. I'm staring out at the water, and there's a beach there. I'm like, this is great.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, no, it's a little cold back here in America right now. So yeah, no, enjoy the good weather while you can. And
for sure.
Speaking of enjoying, you are now, first of all, I think you're going to be probably the most famous Miss America of all time. I really do. And I think it's because of what you're going to be doing over the next, God willing, 50, 60 years in the nuclear world, and helping transition us to a different form of fuel. I mean, that's of energy source. And by the way, shout out, I did see, speaking of energy and power, I saw you did an interview with Robert Bryce.
Yes.
I love his book, Power Hungry. And it's a great book, and he's a great guy. But side note, anyway, so I just want to say, I just have that feeling that you're going to be that person that's going to just transcend for the next 30, 40, 50 years, Grace. But as you're wrapping up your time,
appreciate
you're welcome. You're welcome. But okay, you're wrapping up your tenure. I don't want to talk about that sadness, and but what's one thing you're excited? What's going to be one of the first things you're going to try to get to do after this awesome tour that you've been on for the 2023?
Yeah, so the process of how handing off the Miss America crown. So basically, I'll crown the next girl, and I walk off stage. And you know what? I've already ordered a chocolate cake, so I will be eating a chocolate cake immediately following. And then the next morning, I'm hopping on a plane and I'm going to Key West for a couple of days. I got 210,000 miles racked up in airline travel, so I use those miles. I'm going to Key West.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's the plan immediately after, and I'm super excited. It's going to be a blast. But ultimately, I'm not stopping nuclear advocacy. In March, I start working with Constellation as a core design engineer and, continuing advocacy work. So I've already got speeches set up in colleges across the country, within various, nuclear groups as well. And then a lot of external facing relations with education overall.
Golly. Now, Grace, you graduate in May of this year of 24, or you just did?
I graduate in a week. Once I get back to the States, I can turn
When-
in my final and then I'm good.
Shut up, you, oh my God, what a year.
It's a good time.
What, yes,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
congratulations. Holy, that is
Thank
one
you. I
heck
appreciate
of a
it.
year. With schoolwork,
Thank
you
you.
probably compounded, God knows what, 15, 18, 21 hours. Oh, I can't imagine how many hours you probably did this year just to get done that early. You are amazing. Well, Grace, I know you are doing a lot today, so I cannot thank you enough for your time as always. Can you just leave again? I'll put you on the spotlight, leave everybody with another awesome piece of power, a positive on the way out.
Ooh. You know, I would just want to say, stay hopeful, stay optimistic, stay curious too. I think energy is going to be a more and more crucial part of America's political scene in the coming years. And I highly, highly encourage everyone, educate yourself, stay curious. You have a voice in what your power bill looks like at the end of the month, and that matters in the voting booth. So get out there and vote.
Okay, I love it. Well, Grace, thank you so much. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for this Crude Truth exclusive. Grace Stanke, Miss America 2023 at COP28. We'll see you next time on another episode of The Crude Truth.
Again, thank you to our sponsors, LFS Chemistry, NAPE Expo, Air Compressor Solutions, Exec Crew, Oil and Gas Workers Association, Pecos Country Operating.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.